Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to seminar on animal and human language. We are looking forward to talking with you today about animal and properties of human language. Case study on Alex and Me by Irene Pepperbird. But before we go to the presentation, let me introduce you first to our team. Our team consists of me, my name is Lukluk Trisnawati, and Ramadhani Sri Zilani, Ananda Felin, and Zenni Syarifah.
Yet, we think that creatures are capable of communicating, certainly with other members of their own species. So, is it possible that creatures could learn to communicate with humans using language? Or does human language have properties that make it so unique that it is quite unlike any other communication system, and hence unlearnable by any other creatures? So, ladies and gentlemen, to answer those questions, let's start our discussion. The definition of language. According to Wibowo on his article, language is a system of symbols that are meaningful and articulate sound generated by said tool, which are arbitrary and conventional, which is used as a means of communicating by a group of human beings to give birth to feeling and thought. Pangabean also argues that language is a system of express and report what happens on the nervous system. So, from those definitions, we can conclude that language is a system of verbal and non-verbal and sometimes written representation that are culturally specific and convey meaning about the word. Okay, let's move on to the next material. The next material is communication. So, communication is an activity that sending and receiving information between two or more creatures in same species. Every communication involves at least one sender, a message, and a recipient. This may sound simple, but communication is actually a very complex subject. The transmission of the message from sender to recipient can be affected by a huge range of things. These include our emotion, the cultural situation, the medium used to communicate, and even our location. Communication can be distinguished between communicative signal or communicative language and informative signals or informative language. So, communicative signals is sending information directly, meanwhile informative language is sending indirectly information using sign or symbol and many others. For example, when you sneezed and your friend turned off the AC, she may note that you have a cold. It's mean informative language. But if you tell your friend that you have a cold using language, it's mean communicative language or communicative signals. Okay, the next thing that I will share with you is about properties of language. We have known that all creatures communicate in some way. The physical aspects of humans, such as teeth, larynx, and so on, are not shared by other creatures and may explain why only the human creature has the capacity for speech. However, We suspect that other creatures are not reflecting on the way they create their communicative message or reviewing how they work. We also did not suggest that the human was the only creature which was capable of communicating. So, the question is, what properties that differentiate human language from all other creatures? There have been a number of the differences between human language with other creatures that can be found. All creatures are capable of communicating with other members of their species. Nevertheless, there are some properties of language that are only present in humans. In this occasion, we will share 5 properties. There are displacement, arbitrariness, productivity, cultural transmission, and duality.
Well, what can be concluded from my explanation are: first, language is a system, verbal, non-verbal, and sometimes written representation that is culturally specific, convey meaning about the word. Second, communication is sending and receiving information between two or more creatures in the same species. Communication consists of communicative language or communicative signals and informative language or informative signals. Communicative signals is sending information directly, while informative signals is sending information indirectly using sign or symbol and many others. Then, last but not least, there are 5 properties that differentiate human language and animal language. Furthermore, it will be explained by my colleague Ananda Felin.
Thank you for this great opportunity to deliver the material of today's session. Language is human, so it differs from animal communication in several ways. Language can have scores of properties. Now, I will explain about the properties of human language one by one. Please pay attention to it. Are you ready? Okay. The first property is displacement. Displacement is the capability of language to communicate about things that are not immediately present. Human language refers to the past, present, and future. We can look at the tenses the speakers use or the time circumstance, such as last night, last week, last month, and the others. Human language is also capable to communicate about abstract concepts, things that do not exist in real life. For example, Superman, Batman, Santa Claus, and the others. In contrast, animal language doesn't have this capability. It just refers to the present. For example, the beast is dancing to communicate the location of nectar. Okay, the next property is arbitrariness. Arbitrariness is the absence of any natural or necessary relation between words' meaning and its sound or form. Vocal symbols in natural languages are arbitrary. It means that there is no logical connection between the form of a symbol and its meaning. For example, there is no connection between the sound pen and the object called pen. There is no reason to call a chair except that speakers of English call it so. Further, a few words in any language can be onomatopoeic. Onomatopoeic is the process of creating a word that phonetically imitates, resembles, or suggests the sound that it describes. For example, is animal noises such as oink, meow, roar, and chirp. Arbitrariness of language is not limited to words. For example, there is no relation for "he is a doctor" to be a statement and "is he a doctor" to be a question, except the agreement among the speakers of English to interpret them in that way. It is the evidence that the arbitrariness of forms is one of the factors which make the language so versatile. If we had to match form with meaning, it would be impossible to make words for many things. So, with these features, we can call anything. The next is productivity. Productivity is the capability to manipulate, to produce new expressions and new words. According to Chomsky, 1985, the most important property of human language is its productivity because humans can understand and produce identifiably many words that nobody has either produced or heard previously. It means that we can produce new sentences. The number of phonemes, morphemes, and words in a language are limited, but with this limited symbol, we can create countless sentences and expressions. For example, nowadays humans create a word vaping to describe the situation where a group of people are busy with their own gadget. Animal signals are ready-made fixed message and sound. For example, perfect monkeys. There is one dangerous signal, chatter. We can call it chatter, which is used when a snake is around. And another signal is rout when an eagle is spotted nearby. Perfect monkey cannot say cut route, the combination of two signals, when a flying creatures that look like a snake came by. It means that the animal communication doesn't have these features. Fourth is cultural transmission. Is a process whereby a language is passed on from one generation to the next. Language is a part of culture. Culture exists long time ago. The language that humans use in communication is influenced by their culture. Therefore, the way we communicate and what language we use depends on the culture in the place where we are. For example, there are some Koreans who were born and live in the preteens. Their physical is still like Korean in general, has long black hair and slanting eyes, because their parents are Korean anyway. But since they are stay there in the preteens, they will speak English for the daily language.
Okay, that's all four of human language features that I have explained. To sum up, the language is a part of culture. The language that people use depends on the culture where they live. The language is arbitrary. It means that there is no relation between the words and the meaning. Human language is productive. It means that humans can produce new words and new expression.
And the last, human language is able to talk across the time and the place. It's called displacement. Okay, there will be the last features that will be explained by my partner, Ramadhani Sri Zilani, and that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Let's move to the other properties of language. Duality. Human language is organized at two levels or layers. This property is called duality or double articulation. In speech production, we have a physical level at which we can produce individual sounds like n, p, and I. As individual sounds, none of these discrete forms have any intrinsic meaning. In a particular combination such as pin, we have another level producing a meaning that is different from the meaning of the combination in nib. So, at one level we have distinct sounds, and at another level we have distinct meanings. In the other way, animal language has no duality like humans. They only have communicative signs. Dog may be able to produce woof, W, O, O, and F, but it has deeper meaning with foo, F, O, O, and W. It's same as the words meow that typically cannot be broken into parts. Talking to animal. A lot of spoken language directed by humans to animals, apparently under the impression that the animal follows what is being said. Sometimes the animal follows and doing the right things, but actually the animal produces a particular behavior in response to a particular sound, stimulus, or noise, but doesn't actually understand what the words in the noise mean. For the example, when we tell a dog to sit, it doesn't mean that the dog understands the word sit. The dog also doesn't understand that the word sit means he must take a sitting position. To discuss this animal language material, we use the book Alex and Me. Alex and Me is a book that tells how a scientist and a parrot discovered a hidden world of animal intelligence and formed a deep bond in the process. Is a 2008 memoir by an American animal intelligence researcher, Iran Pepperberg. It recounts her 30-year experiment with an African gray parrot named Alex, short for Avian Learning Experiment. Alex and Me is a personal memoir focusing less on Pepperberg's finding and more on her relationship with Alex. Children learning to identify colors, shapes, size, and numbers. While the methods of teaching parrots and children may be slightly different, it turns out that there are many similarities in how they learn and what they are capable of learning. To sum up, duality in which language appears to be organized at least two levels, the primary levels consisting of the units and the secondary levels consisting of the elements. The elements of the secondary levels combine the unit of the primary levels. We can consider the three elements of the verbal language: speech, sound, consonant, and vowel. For example, the word cat consists of vowel A and consonant C and T. The speech sounds are meaningless because if I say C, it has no meaning. Further things about Alex and Me will be explained by Zenni Syarifah.
How Alex the parrot learned his word. Here, the Dr. Pepper all have given Alex a lot of training by some technique and methods, such as sample the pronunciation. Dr. Pepperberg's teaching methods letting Alex watch as someone asks the trainer for an object, a piece of paper, by asking it correctly the word paper, the person would get the paper as the reward. And by watching this change, Alex learned that when he gave such a noise that paper, he could get that piece of paper also. That means the paper is the first word that Alex could learn, and then he also can show the emotionals and respond to emotional scenarios and show the sign of intention by learning such a word no and I'm sorry. When the trainers and also Dr. Pepperberg was have a situation where he was doing some mistake and was mad angered by the trainer, the Alex will say that pleading, he said I'm sorry. And here the lexical illusion that was created after the experiments on Alex. Before, we have seen that Alex displays some keen intelligence as well as some surprising emotions and intention. But there are another things in here. Alex also proved that he is able of being creative by combining concepts to create interesting new ones. After learning the labels for grape, banana, and cherry, it was time to learn apple. But there was one problem. A bird's beak isn't the best tool for making the p sound at the core of apple. So Alice came up with a creative workaround for this by giving the apple a clever new name, the banana. Well, it does make sense because the part of banana is sweet, has a sweet taste, and the part of cherry, it's like an apple, is also red and the shape is round. This two-word combination on putting two words together to come up with a new third word is called a lexical illusion, and taking two old things to make something new is considered a sign of advanced creativity. But Alex didn't stop there. He's also proven to be quite clever at understanding numbers.
Alex, what matter? That's right, you're a good
Alex
boy.
can answer different questions about the same object.
Come on, how many corners? What shape? What shape? Four corner, good boy.
That is the video about the Alex the parrot that was trained by Dr. Ian Pepperberg, and he was able to identify on the shape of the flannels that was given by doctor, and also he can decide whether colors of the key is green, and he was correct again. And here are the last words that was spoken by Alex in his unexpected and premature death. His last word to Dr. Pepperberg is, "You be good. See you tomorrow. I love you." That was such an emotional expression that expressed by Alex to Dr. Pepperberg. That means a lot of things already happened in the training before, and that built the chemistry relation to Dr. Pepperberg, and it showed the Alex can respond to the emotional signs and also give his intention to Dr. Pepperberg.
And now we come to the conclusion of the seminar. And human here possess a natural and inborn facility to be creative with the language and the symbol aspect that humans have. And as far as research that has been done before, animals do not possess it. And can animals speak in human language? The answer is no. Animals only gives a response to our maybe words language of our speaking is because they instinctively respond to it, but they don't really understand on what the word actually means, and the animals only understand what we talk because it is their instinct to adapt to their surrounding. Like the Dr. Pepperberg has made experiments. That doesn't mean that they are able to do a language of human, but mostly animals use this as a communication form, and their communication forms tend to be nonverbal and also as a sign or maybe use their sensory of their body. So in here the animals doesn't have a language. Language is a distinct feature of a human, and it has to propose and fulfill the properties of language that has been we talked about before, like the arbitrary, culture, and others. And I think that's all for our seminar for today. And maybe there are some question or response to our material for today. There will be some session after this, and I'll say sorry because a lot of mistake from my team, and thank you for participating in the seminar.